So welcome, Marilyn.
Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl. And thank you to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. It's always fun to talk at Unity. And for this particular talk, um, it was interesting because faith is not a word I probably use easily in my life. And Cheryl and I were chatting about the fact that faith can mean so many different things. And the word I chose was trust, because I thought we could find many words for faith. And through this talk, we'll talk about many words that may mean faith to you. In the dictionary, it says faith and trust. Faith is a complete trust or confidence in someone or something. Trust is a firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. So it adds the someone or something in the very descriptions that they are. Full confession of my life, I did not grow up in a religious household. In fact, it was probably atheist or agnostic at best. I took myself to various churches, often where my friends were. As a child, I liked to sing, so I liked to be in the choirs, and I enjoyed Sunday school discussions and things like that, but I didn't have a sense of sort of where faith came from. And I always kind of giggled at my upbringing, where we always had baptisms. All babies were baptized, and I was always convinced it was because we had this really nice baptismal gown in our family that I would guess my great grandmother made for my mother as a baby. So I think we had the ritual because we liked the dress and the bonnet. And it just came from that. And also, when I was a kid, I went to an Anglican church, and a bunch of my friends were talking about getting confirmed. And I thought, well, I'll get confirmed with them. And of course, you go through all the rituals with that, going to classes, and you're about 13 years old or so. And my mom made me a nice white dress. And the only thing I can remember about confirmation is my friend Margaret sitting beside me, and we had to go to the front and take our first communion, and she was absolutely petrified that she was going to choke on the wine. And really, that's all I can remember about the whole ritual, but because I just wanted her to get through that, and we all did, so that was all good. So let's talk a little bit about faith, maybe equaling trust, maybe equaling other words for you as we walk through this. I'm going to channel a few people today, because it's not a word, as I say, that I use easily in my life, but I've come to Unity, and when I came to Unity, I found all kinds of words I didn't use easily, but I also found all kinds of different explanations or better explanations for things that then made a lot more sense to me. So I'm going to channel my inner Reverend Dr. Martha Creek. I was at Unity Village one time at a conference, and Reverend Dr. Martha Creek came up to the front, and she was going to organize one of our breakout sessions. And first thing she said was, okay, let's get this straight. I'm sorry. I'm saying I'm sorry ahead of time. So if I don't get it right, if I stumble over a word, if there's something you don't agree with, let's just get that out of the way. So I laughed and laughed. I thought, oh, Martha, you're such a real person. You're so much fun to be with. And of course, she does get so much right. But I laughed at as I was putting this talk together. I often go onto Google and I just type in a phrase or a word I'm looking for. And I typed in, I'm sorry, comma, Unity. And doesn't it come up that there's something called Spirit Records? And Unity came up as a record, I'm sorry. So I took the picture. I thought, well, that attributes to the I'm sorry part. So please bear with me that I don't have a deep knowledge like Reverend Dr. Martha Creek does. But I'm here today to just get your senses moving. I'm also channeling another mentor of mine, Reverend Dr. Mary Morrissey. I became a dream builder coach with her, and she is one of those fascinatingly brilliant people that can keep an audience engaged for an entire weekend very, very easily. And when she talks about faith, she says there is a power within you greater than all things, greater than circumstances, situations, conditions, and all of your history. And she has lots of stories that go along with that, very interesting to listen to. One of the things that struck me is when she said that if you don't think there's a larger power than we are, think about, do you say to yourself, well, I think I'll breathe now? No, we simply breathe. Our body knows what to do. And you don't say, oh, hey, liver, let's detoxify now. You know, it's just something that is done with a power that's bigger than just our human selves. And the small acorn that goes into the ground has to shake at just the right vibration to attract the energy to grow into the large oak tree. So when we think about that, we know there is something bigger than ourselves. It's within us, but it also works with us. Mary also says, when you give yourself permission to follow your curiosity, new ideas will come to you and doorways of opportunity will open. She says to get curious. And I remember, I think it was Sheila speaking to us back in December saying, get curious, not furious. So if something bumps up against you or you find yourself pushing back on something, a word, a saying, a way of doing something, maybe get curious and find out, have a discussion versus having an argument. And I was also very inspired by Reverend Paul Hasselbeck. I also think he's also a Reverend Dr. Paul Hasselbeck. He changed the 12 powers into different words that are maybe more malleable, maybe more comfortable for our time, newer versions of the word. And the one he made for faith is believer. And I thought that that was another word that could be equal to faith. The word believer. So they're channeled and they're with me today. So that's what I'm hoping for. In unity, of course, we have the 12 powers, and the power of January is faith, based on the disciple Peter, and the color of dark blue. And it's centered in the area of the body is the center of the brain. And the affirmation is faith opens doors of good for me, where my human sense may see no doors. So something bigger than ourselves. Faith is a quality in us that enables us to look past appearances of lack, limitation, or difficulty, to take hold of the divine idea and believe in it, even though we do not see any evidence of it except in our minds. And they talk about the idea of things are created twice, first as an idea, then as a something or something. The location of the faith is an interesting place. It's located in the center of the head. It's between our ears and between our eyes, which means that the results become accordingly different when we can actually go to what would be called our third eye, or sometimes our intuition, our inner vision, and our inner hearing. These are developing through prayer and affirmative prayer to know that divine potential is within us. Faith is an interesting word. It can create things within people that can be very good or can be difficult. For some people, faith is a comfort. It's a knowing. For some people, faith is considered to be something that evokes some kind of difficulty or shame. So it'd be very dependent on upbringing, childhood, other religious beliefs, and like that, of where faith came from. And I just took the three most common faiths in the world. There's so much more we could obviously explore, but I took the three most common faiths and I went and, to the famous internet and said, what does faith mean in Christianity? And faith is in Latin is fidem. And basically it's based on believing promises and trusting God's character and faithfulness to ask. It's also a belief in a new covenant, or something that new has come to us and will be something to be saved. God always exists as a judge over the creation. This is in the Christian faith. And God's judgment is a process that ends in the decision about whether a person is worthy of a reward of heaven or not a reward, which would be considered hell. And these are not my words. These are words taken right from the dictionaries of faith within the Christian language. The other common religion would be Judaism. And in Judaism, the word faith in Hebrew is emunah. And in the Torah, which is the Bible part of the Jewish religion, faith in God means trust. Judaism is based on character beliefs and one transcendent God who revealed himself to wayshowers as we know them, Abraham, Moses, and the Hebrew prophets, by a religious life in accordance with scriptures. Jews believe that God judges how good or bad people have been in order to decide their destiny in the afterlife. I do know in the Jewish religion there is no heaven and hell, simply the afterlife. Other most common faith is Islam, and that is to believe in Allah, to believe in affirm his truths, and to submit to his commands. The word faith In Islam is Iman. And the 6 pillars of faith are Allah himself, angels, his messengers, his books, the day of judgment, and providence. Allah will decide how people will spend their afterlife. Most Muslims believe they have free will to make their own choices and also believe they will judge by God for those choices. So there's the fundamental and most common religions of the world and how they project faith. In unity, when I looked up the faith part in unity, at the bottom of your screen there, you'll see that it says spiritual assurance is what unity says that faith is. The power to do the seemingly impossible. It is a magnetic power that draws onto us our heart's desire from the invisible spiritual substance. And Unity co-founders Charles and Myrtle Fillmore said, keep on praying for faith. It is through prayer that you develop all your wonderful qualities of soul. And Charles Fillmore said, when faith is exercised deep in spiritual consciousness that it finds its right place. And under divine law, it brings results that are seemingly miraculous. You notice they don't attach it to any particular book or teachings. It is there and it is within you. It's not an outside thing. It's an inside job, if you will. And Myrtle wrote in her own handwriting, if you leave out everything but the one presence, one power, one life, one love, one health, one wisdom, one joy, there is wholeness. So they did not necessarily use the word faith for everything, but found many words that interpreted faith to a comfort level of whoever was speaking about faith at that time. Some brief comparatives of faith. And I said the word other religions in the left-hand side and the unity movement on the right-hand side. Of course, this could embrace all kinds of things, and it's a very shallow and superficial digging into these things. But in general, faith is a deeper knowing in other religions, often from a separate deity, some other being, and it is often called He. In a comparative way, faith is a deeper knowing within unity that comes from no separation from spirit. And if you have taken or read the Course in Miracles, it always talks about the fact that there is no separation. One of the comparatives that's the same is there's some creation that co-creates with spirit. So allowed to, in some ways, in other religions, but believing there's a deity that always sort of takes charge, if you will. Where in unity, there's a constant co-creation, knowing that all things turn out for the best and highest good. In other faiths, there's often a judgment day, often at the end of a human life, often based on the activities of the lifetime. Where are you going and what will you do in the afterlife? There's no afterlife, particularly in unity, and it basically says we're spiritual beings having a human experience. There is no judgment day. There is no sins to be had. Anything is simply errors or missing the mark, which can be, of course, righted and made different. Most of the other faith religions belong to a book of writings, rules to be followed, a set of dogma, where unity has no dogma. It is based on the Bible, but based on the Bible in the more metaphysical way. So the metaphysical interpretation is there to use stories for now versus then. So we do not have to do anything in particular, where other religions stick to often the way stories were told at the time and follow those writings and rituals. Many times in other religions, there's a lot of comfort in rituals. The rituals that happen might be the songs that are sung, the way things are said, the languages that are used. And in unity, the option was to have no rituals, that things would be ever evolving. So there isn't things like baptism, communion, bar and baptismas, circumcisions, fasting. Those are the words in Islam you see there on the bottom of the right-hand side of the screen. There isn't things that say this has to be done to be cleansed or to be better than or to make a commitment to, if you will. I noticed in both of the faith comparatives, though, there was always the talk of the still small voice, always the talk of peace be still. Those were used in many of the comparatives that I looked up to put together for this slide. So even though there are differences, there are things we share in faith that are the same. So if we take faith and we ask it to be the words we may use that may mean faith to us, what words could we think of? And I thought of several, and you can probably think of more. And I noticed the music that Trish had on earlier, she had several of these words in there. When I have faith, I have hope. When I have faith, I know intuition. When I have faith, I understand perception. When I have faith, I am knowing. When I have faith, I have trust. As Paul Hasselbeck said, when I have faith, I am a believer. And probably most of all, when I have faith, I have love. And I think it says in Corinthians 13, if there's three of the three things that are there, faith, hope, and love, love is the best of the three, which of course makes the world go around. And sometimes for some people, faith is faith. It's a perfectly good word. It just doesn't have to resonate with everybody. And when it does, it's great. But if it doesn't, as we often say in Unity, find the word that resonates with you. Don't worry about what doesn't, but find the one that resonates with you. That is the most important part. Charles Fillmore said, we must think life, talk life, and see ourselves filled with the fullness of life. And I think you could take out life and put in any of those other words: hope, perception, intuition, love, trust, and any of those, the same phrase would be ideal, just as it is. It was Martin Luther King Day this past week in the US, and Martin Luther King, it's a shame when somebody's taken away from this human life in the middle of their brilliance. And I think he would have gone on to do many, many other wonderful things. But he did say that faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. And there were several images, as you can imagine, on the internet of this when I was finding one. And one of them was a dark staircase with just a light at the bottom, knowing that every time you took a step, the light would move with you and, of course, expose the whole staircase as you move in faith, which is always so true. This is a bit of a picture that you might recognize. It is the top of the Sistine Chapel, the two hands, and it's often defined as God and man coming together from the Christian values, of course. And I found this sort of messy picture, and I thought, isn't this true that faith is sometimes just messy? It's a word that can mean different things to different people. It's a word of comfort to some and a word of difficulty to others, but it doesn't matter. The idea is that faith can be called many different things. The artistry work that we see can be depicted differently as it is here. It's still the same. It's still okay. So as we think about faith, let's take some quiet space and move into meditation.
Right now, you are free.
Faith equals trust. And as we move into meditation, take a deep, relaxing breath in. Breathe in faith. And gently exhale. And breathe out love. For this few minutes together, relax into your chair and gently close your eyes if that is comfortable for you. Consider the words of the song you just heard. You are free. You are unlimited. There are no chains that bind you. You are free. You are unlimited right now. And consider you are free. You are unlimited right now and always. You have unlimited choices, and your requirement is only to believe that all is open and available to you. Whatever word you choose: faith, trust, love, hope, perception, intuition, believer, or any other word that resonates with you. Embrace the word, feel it deeply, and know with that inspired, peace-filled knowing that speaks to you in that still, small voice of spirit. Let's take in another deep, cleansing breath. Breathe in faith. Breathe out trust. Consider your word for faith and allow your mind to focus inward. And let's take a few moments in the silence. As we return to the present, know that the still small voice is always available, always within you, always there as we move into the silence and truly listen. In the words of the youth poet laureate Amanda Gorman, who the world met and were astounded by this week at the US inauguration, she said, "There is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it." As we sing the song that we're going to come out of meditation, it's One Power by Daniel Namod. Stay on mute and sing along and truly feel these words. I believe this is one of his very best songs. He says, "Call it God, call it Jesus, call it Spirit, call it Lord, call it Buddha or Buhala, angel's wings or heaven's door. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's all one power. It's the power of the love in you and me." And as we always say, for this or something better, namaste.
One power, one power, one power, one power, one power, one power. There's one power invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. One power indescribable, and you speak of it with every word you say. mysterious until you know the truth. As simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, angels' wings or heaven's door. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, one power, one power, one power. We speak so many languages, different clothing, different colors, different names. The different is only dangerous when we forget that in the heart we're all the same. And we'll remember once we close our eyes to see that such distances were never meant to be. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, Hashem or heaven's door. It's Muhammad, it's your mind, it's your soul, or it's your sign. It's the universe, it's music, Mother Earth or Father Time. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? Whatever name you give it, it's the very air we breathe. Oh, it's the power of the love in you and me. One power, oh, one power is what we are. One power, one power. It's the moment of creation. It's an everlasting peace. It's the freedom of forgiveness. It's the sweetness of release. It's the joy of inspiration. It's the sunshine on your face. It's the birthright of all nations. It's the boundlessness of space. It's the beauty of a baby, the serenity of sleep. It's the anger we abandon, for it's love that's most deep. It's one power. It's one power. What we are is one forever in you and me. It's the power of the love in you and me.
Thank you, Marilyn. What a beautiful